Speaking of city living, there's a new food market in Washington that has become a hub for deaf people. And the market is part of a larger effort to integrate deaf people into the hearing community. As I learned when I spoke with VOA reporter Michael Lipin, let's take a look.
Lunchtime food vendor Thaddeus Suggs has no trouble taking an order from deaf customers at this store in Washington's Union Market. Communication is easy because the 23-year-old cook is fluent in American Sign Language. Suggs, who also is deaf, began working at the market soon after it opened last year. That's when he took a break from studying across the street at Gallaudet University, the only one in the world designed to accommodate deaf and hard of hearing students.
How long have you been working?
With the help of Gallaudet interpreter Carolyn Ressler, Suggs explains what he likes about his job.
Well, one nice thing is it's so close to Gallaudet, which is, by the way, is the deaf mecca. And with that, we're providing services to the Gallaudet community as well as the community at large.
When we talk about Washington, D.C., people usually think about Capitol Hill and the politics of the city. But you have picked up an amazing subject. Tell me, how did you think about this?
Well, the idea developed in a few stages. The first thing was I actually went to Union Market for the first time in June. That was about 9 months after it reopened following a long renovation. Union Market is in Northeast Washington, and it is a kind of trendy fresh food market and also a dining venue. And it is right across the street from a very special place, the only university in the world that was specifically designed for deaf people.
So how can a food market become a hub for the deaf people?
Well, this happened in several ways. An important part of that is that it really is right across the street from Gallaudet University, and that means that this food market has a very big customer base right next door of deaf students and also staff of the university. Now, the market took this in mind when it figured out how to design the interior of the space. The developer realized we have this big customer base across the street. How can we make our market friendlier for them? Well, let's include several aspects of deaf design or deaf space into the features. One feature is lots of light to make visual communication easier. Another feature is keep the walls low. In fact, you go into Union Market and it's really one big room. This is something that's quite new in terms of architectural design. Hansel Baumann, who's the planning director at Gallaudet University, told me that it's a relatively new thing to think about when you design any public space. And Union Market is really one of the first big public spaces that has embraced this principle.
Any plan to replicate this across the states or even outside of the United States where this being deaf is a stigma?
I don't know of plans for more deaf-friendly public spaces outside of Washington, although I can tell you that Gallaudet University is working with the Washington community to incorporate deaf design principles into more spaces in this city. They also want to convert part of the Gallaudet campus into more shops and public spaces, and they're going to try to design the new aspects of the Gallaudet campus.
What would you want to say to those who can hear and they encounter people who are deaf and they have this attitude towards them?
Try to react the way that I did when I got to meet and learn from the deaf people that I worked with on this story, and that is that if at first you don't succeed in understanding, have some patience. Perhaps the deaf person you're speaking to can read your lips, maybe needs you to repeat something once or twice, but just have that patience to be able to understand from them, and there are various ways you can do that. Just to be conscious that there are those various ways that you can communicate.
Our thanks to VOA reporter Michael Lipin for that story about a situation that affects a lot of people. Here in the U.S. alone, there are some 8 million people who have difficulty hearing.
Right, and you mentioned the U.S., but of course this is not just an American problem. This is a worldwide issue.
Yep.
So definitely something to keep watch on.